Okay, welcome everyone to Freedom from Nigeria. This is Saturday, 3/26. And if we can please have welcome everyone to Freedom from Nigeria. This is Saturday, 3/26. And if we can please have welcome everyone to Freedom from And we have a great program for you today. Prior to today, we have been talking about just the different elements of what's going on in Nigeria. And today we are going to bring it all together so people can clearly see what's actually going on. But before we do that, let me just tell you a little bit about who we are. We're just groups of people who are concerned citizens of Nigeria, Indigenous Nigerians. And our goal is to bring information to our people, the facts to the people, and to help them to decipher exactly what's going on. Now, before we get started with our program today, I'm going to have Modupe talk to us a little bit about everything that's going on in Nigeria. How has this impacted the indigenous Nigerians? What's going on with their welfare? What's going on with their standard of living? What is going on with their security? And what are some of these numbers? And what are some of the organizations around the world saying about it? Thank you very much, Modupe. If you can get us started on that, that would be awesome.
Yes, thank you, Jean, and I welcome everyone to this program. Just like Jean mentioned, we know that currently there are so many issues that are facing the indigenous people in Nigeria. Chief of those issues are the constant attack by non-indigenous Fulani headsmen, and also the government, the current government of the day, the oppression and the subjugation of fundamental rights of the citizens to self-determination by use of military-style administration. And also, the enactment of a fraudulent constitution, which they are actually using to legitimize some of those, oppressive, their oppressive actions over the people. So currently, we have about 90 million indigenous people in poverty. Let me just say briefly, where we were, about 42 years ago. We have, for example, the exchange rate about 42 years ago is about $1 to, $1 was equivalent to 78 kobo, which is less than, than a naira. But now a dollar, the equivalent of a dollar in Nigerian currency is 550 naira. So, but to go back to some of the biting effects of these atrocities that are being committed against the indigenous people in Nigeria, like I said, 90 million are in poverty, and we know why. If the exchange rate is about 550 naira to a dollar, so how much would you need to buy basic things, such as just even bread or even water and things like that? About 400,000 indigenous people have been killed so far and we're still counting. About 350,000 of our people have fled as refugees, and over 4 million have been displaced from their ancestral land. And 2 million of those are living in deplorable conditions. So there are so many, evil that have been perpetrated against people, against indigenous people in Nigeria by the non-indigenous group, whose son is also the president of the nation. So, and has used the power and the might of the nation, of the government, to continue to suppress and subjugate people in Nigeria. So I'll leave it there, and I'll let Jean continue so that others can chime in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And one of the things that we want to talk about is that these numbers are not the numbers that are being provided by Nigerians. These numbers are being provided by the UN, by different Christian organizations. And one of the key things also that I want to bring to the fore is that a few years ago now, in December of 2020, the International Criminal Court also brought to the world's attention these atrocities and the effect on the Nigerian people. They actually went as far as to say that the Nigerian armed forces had committed crimes against humanity that rises to the level of war crimes. So they were talking about it's not just the terrorists and the Fulani herdsmen that were committing these crimes. The Nigerian armed forces were themselves committing crimes against humanity on its own people. And one of the telling things in that report to me was that they mentioned that they have been working with the Nigerian government for years to actually have them investigate these things and to correct them. And they said they were just paying lip service. And I'm not making this up. Go and look at the ICC report, December 11 of 2020, and it's right there. I'm just quoting from what that says. So that tells you that lots of things are going on in Nigeria. And the International Criminal Court is saying by themselves that the Nigerian government is not doing anything to get that corrected. So we just wanted to bring this to your attention so the world and our people will understand the kind of numbers we're talking about. And in fact, the refugee number of those last year was about 350,000, and now that number is well over 400,000. Which is kind of scary to believe. And that 400,000 number of the people that have been killed will show is much higher, because the UN came out with numbers last year that was staggering, that 350,000 alone in the Northeast, in the Middle Belt, have already been killed. So those numbers are quite staggering. So anywho, the plight of the Nigerian indigenes are quite severe. We see what's going on in Ukraine, but the plight of the Nigerian citizens have been going on. This undeclared war has been going on. So right now, I am going to welcome Citizen AY. Welcome, Citizen AY.
Good evening to you. Sorry, I'm running late. Traffic and everything else. So, good evening to you.
That's okay. We have Citizen AY and Modupe that are going to be moderating this discussion today. So I am going to, if you let me know that you are ready, Citizen.
Yeah, just give me 5 minutes. Give me 5 minutes, and I'll just give me carry on for a few minutes, or Dr. Modupe, you can take over, and I'll show my face in a few minutes.
Okay, so let's kind of let other people kind of weigh in on the impact, because one of the things that we have to do is to present a face to the people. We have to show the world what's going on, because some people say that we don't need the world. Actually, we do. As you can see in the Ukraine situation, without the world coming to Ukraine's help, they would have been overrun quite a long time ago. But obviously they had their own resolve as well, right? But having friends in high places is important. That was important in South Africa. So I'm going to let some people weigh in before we get started on what we have to talk about today, which is we're going to be talking about laying out the plan. Okay, so I'll let some folks chime in. Robo, do you want to talk about, some of the things, the impact of what's going on in Nigeria, the impact that it is having on people, you know, from what Modupe talked about and other aspects of it as well. Do you want to chime in on that, Robo, or Stephen, or Honorable? You can just unmute. You can unmute and join the conversation. Okay, I see we have some shy people today. So let me talk about the things when we're talking about poverty. Poverty has a really defining impact on the young, very defining impact on the young, because they don't have enough nutrition to power their brains. And we're talking about 90 to 100 million people. In that number, it's probably over 50 million young minds. And it's 50 million young minds that don't have the right nutrition. They don't have the right schooling. They don't have the right shelter. And according to the numbers that the world organizations are providing, they are saying that out of that 90 to 100 million, there is about 9 to 10 million who are in dire straits and on the verge of dying. So these numbers are staggering. And when we just kind of put it in the context of when this whole thing unleashes in Nigeria, the refugee situation is going to overwhelm the world, because we have what? Over 200 million in Nigeria, well over 200 million in Nigeria. And when we have that flight going on, that's going to overwhelm the world. And so this is important for the world to pay attention to what's going on in Nigeria. Modupe, your thoughts?
Yes, I would also like to add that, yes, when there is malnutrition, when there's poverty, right, when people cannot even afford to, to have like 1 or even 2 meals a day, it's not just the brain, that is going to be impacted, but also the behavior as well. Now crime will increase, right? And again, with the young people who who have been educated, and don't have the employment, they don't have the opportunities. It will drive them into doing things that are into criminal activities. Right now we have like monumental number of crime in that country. Absolutely. Ritualistic killings, get rich quick kind of behaviors are so rampant in the society now, because there are no opportunities. People are starving, and so it has gotten to a point where people are now, they are now being forced. And this is not to excuse those behaviors, but the environment, it's like a kind of has provided that license for them to be able to engage in those kinds of criminal activities. So it's not just the starvation, and that's why we need to keep talking about this, because the impact on the society is huge.
Generations to turn
and generations to come.
Yes.
What do you think will happen to those who are victims of the crimes that are being perpetrated? The crimes that are happening because of the effect of starvation. What about the wives of those who have been killed or who have been used for ritualistic killings? What about the parents of young children, people in their prime, that are being killed senselessly for this, because of this murderous, acts, and an environment, and an enabling environment also. You know,
Yeah,
farming enables them. So
let's talk about farming in Nigeria. How is this impacting farming? Because we know that a lot of farms, right, in the middle belt where the Christians live, we know that those farms have been destroyed, right? And then that is starting to happen also in the South. Can you talk about that impact on really just the availability, right, of just the basic things, what that the impact is having on the population?
does someone else want to take that? And
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me it's pretty simple. Just look at the market prices of goods.
Yes.
That gives you an indication. It's not the only indication, but straight away, the number of farms people are refusing. There's 2.9 million Nigerians in IDP camps, and that is even conservative.
Yeah, actually it's over 4 million right now.
Thank you. And that's why I said it's even conservative.
Yeah.
Now, what that means, to put that in perspective, of those 2.9 million, let's just say 100,000 of them are farmers. So that means that 100,000 farmers cannot farm. And look at the amount of acres of land that is now fallow, not being used for anything. That means that you can't bring stuff from the farms to the market to provide for your family. Let's not forget the government is not providing for the family. So there is a huge impact of the fact of the actions of this government in not only chasing away the farmers away, they stop the farmers from feeding the community, and they impoverish the community, and also they drive up the price of the food. They drive up. These are stark realities. I don't have the precise number. I'm going to try and get those numbers up in terms of the impact of this genocidal act of giving Fulani terrorists guns, giving Metis guns, ISWAP, Boko Haram, to terrorize Middle Beltons and Southerners out of their land. Because the people, we're the bread basket of the nation.
Okay.
The Middle Belt, and in fact, the Middle Belt more so.
Yes.
It's known as a bread basket. But also, let's not forget the Southerners also do a lot of farming. I mean, in Igbo, there's a land. What's this land called again? I can't remember. Is it Anambra? They farm a lot there. They got yams and everything else. It grows. Now, when you chase farmers away from there, what happens? People are starving. They can't feed themselves.
Or destroy their crop.
They destroy the crops. So this is having an impact, a severe impact. And the world, like you said.
Yeah, can we talk about one other thing before we kind of get started on our program today? Let's talk about these having to rent your own land now and pay. You have to now pay, right? For protection from we've heard that especially from the Northeast, where they're having to pay the terrorists to be able to use their farms. And shockingly, I heard that from Benue State as well, where they're having to rent their own land. So can we talk about that just for a few minutes?
If anybody wants to go ahead, let's go ahead and do that. And I'm happy to chip in.
Yeah, because I heard the story. I got a WhatsApp message from a son that was concerned about his mother, because his mother was able to farm and sustain herself, and now she's unable to do that, and she's facing starvation, and the people that she was feeding from her farm are also facing starvation. And these are the stark realities of what's going on with the people. So without further ado, AY, if you are ready, if we can go ahead and get started with what we're doing. You can kind of introduce, what we're doing, and then we have some videos that Modupe is going to show after the introduction, and then we can dive into it.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the broadcast from Freedom from Nigeria. We are all about trying to ensure that the Middle Belt and Southwest, we completely disentangle ourselves from contracting Nigeria. And so this topic today is about the main topic that we're looking at is indigenous Nigerians facing ethnic cleansing and religious persecution that has risen to the level of genocide. So we are bringing it to your attention that we are, if not already in genocide territory right now, we are fast approaching it, if not already. Here are a number of things that we'll be looking at. Should I read out the 10 or just go to it one by one?
No,
we'll start off with one topic first. Let's start off with, yeah. Okay,
yeah,
so
let's just, we want to kind of dig into the topic for the day, which is we're laying out, like we've been talking about different pieces of the plan, but today we're kind of laying out the plan. So our people can see, we're bringing it all together today. But before we go into that, what we want to do is to start by looking at the video that T.Y. Danjuma provided in 2018. Then we'll look at the Akintoye video, and then we'll look at the video talking about what's happening with the demographics in Nigeria, because I think that sets the stage for us so that our people understand that there's real stuff going on in Nigeria. So Madupe, as you when you're ready, if you can please start us off with those 3 videos, that would be awesome.
Okay.
Madupe, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, and once you get started with the one, if you can see that you queue up the other so that we won't, so that we can go through them relatively quickly. These are fairly short videos that we're going to be watching, and I think all Indigenous Nigerians need to actually see these videos and really understand what's going on, and then the rest of the videos and headlines that we're going to be providing as well, because I think it's important for us to, because if we don't know what is happening to us, we won't know how to stop what is happening to us.
Okay. So let us know when you want us to go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Madupe. We're waiting for you to start the first video.
Let me just remove pin so you can, okay, go ahead.
Madupe, are you ready with that? For the first video, with the T.Y. Danjuma video?
You're muted, we can't hear you. I know,
yeah, I keep talking, but okay, all right.
Yes, we're waiting for you. We're just filling in time, so that
all right, no problem.
Yeah, if you can get the other 2 ready too, so that we can just kind of go.
Can I just add a little thing here?
Yeah, go ahead. While she
quite a quick look. We need to really reappraise how we view the Fulanis. They are very intelligent. You know why I say that?
Yes.
One of the things we need to understand is that when they say that they are not educated, we are very, very wrong. They are educated in the extermination of Southerners, and that is what we
West African.
West African. Sorry, Middle Belt. West African. They're educated in that area.
Yeah.
But because as soon as they're born, they are taught to never see us as their equals. They are taught to see us as their slaves. And we need to understand this is handed down from one person to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. That is the one single education that he has proven to be very effective in how they actually operate wherever they go across the West Africa, as you all see. So this is something that we have to be very, very aware of. We should stop this idea.
Yeah, so, you can go to full screen.
Yeah, so go ahead. So I'll come back and explain on that later on. I'll move over to you.
Yeah, that's a great.
Taraba is a mini state. It's a mini Nigeria composed of various ethnic groups living together reasonably peacefully. But the peace in this state is under assault. There's an attempt at ethnic cleansing in this state and of course in all the riverine states of Nigeria. We must resist it. We must stop it. Everyone lot of us must rise up. The armed forces are not neutral. They collude. They collude. They collude with the armed bandits that kill people, kill Nigerians. They facilitate their movements. They cover them. If you are depending on the armed forces to stop the killings, you will all die one by one.
That's a powerful one.
The ethnic cleansing must stop in Taraba State. It must stop in all the states of Nigeria. Otherwise, Somalia will be a child's play. I ask every one of you to be alert and defend your country, defend your territory, defend your state. You have nowhere else to go. You have nowhere else to go. God bless our country. Taraba State.
Stop. I'm trying to listen.
Yeah, and this was in 2018. And as we can see, we have seen these unfolding. So, Mother, if you can get the second video with Prophet Kintoya talking about the jihadists, we have seen what T.Y. Danjuma was talking about. And as we talked about earlier, in 2020, December, the International Criminal Court issued their report. And what did it say? The Nigerian armed forces have engaged in acts against humanity. This is acts against Nigerians that has risen to the level of war crimes. That is a shocking indictment. And, you know, the question that needs to be asked is what is being done, right? When we talk about, you know, what do we do about this plan? That's one of the things that we have to be talking about amongst ourselves. What are we doing to apply pressure to the ICC to see that that detailed study actually gets kicked off so that this can stop? But here is Akintoye in 2019 talking to us about aspects of this plan.
Regard the land on which they have lived for thousands of years as their land. It is not their land, the letter said. The land belongs to us, Fulani, and we have now a reason to take it. And we are not talking of the peoples of Benue State alone. We are talking of all the peoples of Nigeria. We have accumulated money and weapons for a long, drawn-out war. We have invited Fulani from all the rest of West Africa to come and join us to take our land in Nigeria.
RUGA.
And if you think your federal government can defend you, you are kidding. They cannot defend you. He read a letter to us and we all sat down there wondering whether we were still in Nigeria. It is, people who are doing that, you now equate them to a Fenifere or to a.
Okay, thank you, Majiba. And then the last video that we're going to see before we start talking about elements of the plan is the video that talks about changing of demographics. And if you fast forward to today, that is tied directly to the amendments in the Constitution calling for people to be made indigenes of states. And we'll talk about that later and talk about how many colonies, communities have been forced into the Middle Belt to the South today. Majiba, whenever you're ready with that video.
Okay.
Again, this is all laying the groundwork so that people can really see, in the words of other people, what is actually going on, because we do need to be paying attention and not just saying, oh, it's not this or it's not that. Too many people are dying on a daily basis. And later on also, we'll see a video from Melafia, rest his soul, who pretty much gave his life to bring out information about who these bandits are, who's leading them, at least who has been alleged to be leading them in Nigeria. So if we can go to that, then AY can get us started in talking about the elements
1 second.
of the plan. No, not that one, not that one.
Okay.
There's the one that's in there is the one about the demographics.
Okay.
Yeah, if you look on the document, we'll look at that one later. It was interesting when I can tell you in 2019 was talking about how the Fulani have been invited, right? They've been invited into Nigeria, because that video that you were about to show was going to be talking about that. But this video here is the one that talks about the demographics, because it says that specifically.
This one?
Let's see. Now this is RUGA. If you look on the document, I have the link and the Word document, there's a link to it.
Okay.
Let me see. I'm not sure if I can get to it. Let me see if I have it open so I can get to that. Because that's important, you know, as these other ones, you know, for our people to really understand, you know, what's going on and what the plan really is. So let me just see if I can get that one going, because I have that here. This is a example. Let me go back here. So just bear with us a minute so that we can go ahead and. Okay. Let me share my screen. So that
Okay, so it's important to just emphasize here the need for Middle Belt and the whole of the South to work in unity at this point more than ever. So go ahead.
Absolutely.
I went to Kwatarakashi. So along the Kwatarakashi Kankara Funtua route, I saw Hausa youth blocking the road. And when I asked what is this, they say their people are being killed and the government is not doing anything. I noticed that a lot of the headsmen that I talked to, they don't speak English. They don't speak Hausa. Because I said, hey, Mutumina, they said, keep quiet. I said, may I say, why is he not talking? He kept quiet. And they say, hey, they should stop speaking French. And they say, to French, say, we. And he starts feeling comfortable. And as we continue to talk, I found some of these people are from Mali, so from Mauritania. Now, what we are saying is, are we having settlement built for imported population? Because as I'm talking to you right now, there are no Nigerians from Kano, from Sokoto, from Katsina applying to be moved from their current homes into bushes somewhere else. It does not exist anywhere in this country. So we see a strategy to import populations from the sub-region and then use them to displace and alter demographics. This is not, that's why the government, when they say they're suspended, if you watch President Buhari's his way, he employs Takia. And I understand the Polaco very well. So yes, he could say one thing because as the gentleman rightly mentioned, it's the same Takia he uses, deception. He said first grazing reserve. The country said no. He came back again, he said cow colony. We said no. Because the only thing in this game is land. The child is just. I go to Jos, I see people displaced. Why are they not returned back to their homeland? Why?
Okay. So, AY, over to you. We've seen three very powerful videos that leaves us, that really tells the story of what's going on. So, AY, over to you, if you can get us started.
Yeah, good evening to you all once again. That video that was just played now, it really explains quite a lot of what is going on. You can see what he said there is particularly very, very alarming, because what he was saying there was that, yes, they were asking Fulanis from across all of Africa to come in. And the Fulanis, many of them don't speak English, they speak French. And he said the key thing he said is that if they were, it would be fine if they were even saying they were going to ask Fulanis who are in Nigeria, who speak the lingo, the English that we all know, to actually move from one state to the other. But what is happening is that they are actually bringing in foreigners, making them, pretending to be Fulanis, indigenous ones, people who are, to all intents and purposes, Fulani from, within our nation. And that is the fraud. You've also had the plan of what Professor Banjaketu said there, where he talked about the fact that they've stockpiled weapons and they see our land as their land. And I keep going back to the one more thing I want to add. And of course, you heard what Danjuma said at the beginning, whereby that they are coming to take our land and we need to defend ourselves. They want to take our land. That is what it's all about. So it is very, very important for us. And this is message goes out to those of you who are espousing one Nigeria. You need to understand that we are, honestly, if it's not, I hope it's not already too late. These guys, they are sticking to their plan. Amadou Bello mentioned it. The land, the estate of Nigeria should be the estate of our grandfather, Udmada Fuju. We shall use the north as willing tools and the south as conquered territory. Never allow them to have control over us and never allow them to have control over their destiny. I don't know how much more we can explain this to our people, to awaken us. Even those of you who somehow believe in all of the paper money that is put in front of you, to make you think that somehow, somewhere, this Nigeria, this false Nigeria that they are portraying to you will materialize. Their one agenda has been, and like all of the people you had speak, their one agenda has and remains possession of our land. So I really want us to be very, very clear about that. We're gonna go into the topic a little bit. We're gonna look at topic one now. They use the collapse of the nation using military rule and install stooges to govern us. And I think maybe we could talk about that. We have a number of topics. We'll try and see if we can go down the list, during this discussion. But I don't know if people wanted to have a discussion about what you just saw in the video. So I'll leave the floor open. Dr. Modupe, please go ahead and chip in as well, and we welcome discussion from others. But then we'll then bring that discussion to the actual plan that they've used to get there. So over to you, Dr. Modupe. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Really, the video speaks volume to exactly how the Fulani agenda or the plan to overrun the indigenous people in Nigeria. Just like Professor Akintoye said, that they listened while this was being read. So which means that, meaning that these people, they've really planned it, right? It's a plan, and it's been going on for a while, but we were not even aware. So again, I think what's important is for our people to understand, where the Fulani, to understand this agenda, this Fulani agenda. So when our people, speaks of, it's one Nigeria, we are brothers, or even when they use the religion of Islam to say, if you are a Muslim, our Muslim brothers in the South, our Muslim brothers in the, no, it's because they don't see you as their brothers. Really, they see the Fulanis from outside of Nigeria as their brothers. So don't fool yourselves. Don't fool yourself to think that, if you're, if you're a Southern Muslim, that somehow you are, like you have your brethren, in the North, because you practice the same religion. No, they do not see you, as such. So really, again, we need to armor this and let our people understand that, when we're thinking of what of one Nigeria, we really should, we should really think twice, because one Nigeria does not mean, one Nigeria does not mean, what it means to you is not what it means to them, right? They don't see you as, as their fellow citizens, right? They see you as a group of people that needs to be oppressed and be suppressed and be subjugated. That's just the culture. That's just their culture, and that's how they see you. So when you when you invite them into your space, be prepared to lose your space. And that's why we need to be united in saying that we are not going to give up our space, because we did not in the first place, ask you to, the agreement or the plan was not for you to come and take over, the space. I believe that Southerners, we're just so, and even, Middle Belt, we're so accommodating, but we are kind of careless as well. We allow these people into our society. We want to, live in peace. Live in peace and in harmony with them. With the understanding that we belong to the same country. But we need to kind of change our thinking to say, to understand what is on ground. What is on ground is that these people do not see you the same way. They see you as a group of people to be suppressed, and your land be taken away from you, and your asset your asset be taken over from you, and not allow you to benefit from anything that comes from your land. Just like Ahmadu Bello said, that they should not allow, the Southerners and use the Middle Belters, as they are willing to suppress the Southerners and never let them have, a say over their future or their their own, to have a say over their future, and also be able to use things or items that are found on their lands to their advantage. So I will leave it there, and thank you for a very great segue into this very important topic. Thanks all.
Okay, Citizen AY, if we can talk about the fact that they went to military rule, and
I was just gonna do that, but I wanted to bring in. There's a guy who he may be leaving. Robo wanted to have a chip in 1 or 2 words before he leaves, because he's got a meeting at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
So Ala-Igbo, if you would like to just say a few words, I would like to bring you on board. Then we'll go back to the discussion. Robo Igbo, are you there? Let's have a look at you.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah. So thank you very much, sir. Thanks, for the discussion. Yes. So I think a lot of these issues, right? We know about them. People basically have an idea. In Nigeria, we know about the Fulani agenda and all that. So I think the challenge now is basically really getting people to say, look, how can they take this more seriously in our activities, in our decisions? There's so much noise now around, 2023, and all that. And for me, I feel it's a distraction. That's not the issue, about the future of Nigeria. So, so I think, my major concern is really around, getting people to see issues, these issues that, look, this is what is really happening. This is the ultimate goal. We need to take this more seriously in our engagement.
Okay. Thank you so much, my brother. And that leads us nicely into the main topic, where we're at the first part of the topic, which we're going to discuss now. We're going to look at, there is a picture which I'm going to try and share. Let's see if I can. In fact,
I'll share it for you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, thank you. So that fits neatly into it, so that we can break this down. One of the things that has really been happening, and it's been happening right before our eyes. They have you see, these guys, the Fulanis, they tell us who they are and what they plan to do. And they actually go ahead and do it right before our eyes. It's just that we have not been listening to them because of what the gentleman in the video said. It's a Takia move. They are certainly telling us about what they're going to do. And they're not okay, yeah, we agree with you, and they stick to their plan. And it is time we switch on and wake up. Now, the thing I want to really bring to your attention here, you see, the three areas you see there, the North, East, Midwest, and West. Those are the four areas. And the North really, as you will see, as many of us will now know, the North consists of a large part of the North is actually the middle belt. But you can see that it's been collapsed into the North. And that is the first trick right there before us. If we were all, one of the things these are the kind of steps that they've used to collapse the nation using military rule. That is why they did not allow, that is why, if you look at the map, it says regions as of 1965. Now, many people, like I said, and I'm going to restate it again, the middle belt should have been drawn out here, but we all know that middle belt is actually, thank you very much, along those lines. Thank you. Thank you, Jean. That's exactly, it's along those lines. So you can see that already, psychologically, the game they are playing is to make us believe that they are more than us. But it's not the case. So you now look at the West, Midwest, and East. If you look at those areas, what they did was they knew that these people, and bearing in mind, we were actually initially the ones who were keen to break away and run and go. And they were saying, no, we don't want any part of Nigeria. We want to go on our own. But suddenly, when we got to 1960, suddenly the game changed because of the colonial intervention in terms of you all know the 1959 census. That was where the whole thing started changing. The number of seats, all of those things is engineered to give the impression that the North was more than us. Keep in mind, the North is a desert. It's a desert. So you cannot have more population than a place, than areas where there are green, where there's forest. So these are part of the plan that they use. Now, let's go into detail about the collapse of the nations using military rule and the stooges that they use. So now, you had the first coup, of course, was the one by Ezeogu, whereby they could see what was going on, and they wanted to actually arrest the plans of the Fulani and say, this is not right. And then they brought the other coup subsequently since then has been to cement this fraud. And that is why we say collapse the nation using military rule and install stooges to govern. So that is to say, if you look at it, Gowon was a ruler, wasn't it? And even the first guy that was there, remind me, is Erosi. He was very much, again, he was lulled into a sense of, yes, he's one of us and he speaks their language and all of this stuff. But their plan has and always remained that land is Fulani land. It is their birthright, as far as Usman Dan Fodio, their father said, it's their grandfather's estate. And keep in mind, Usman Dan Fodio comes from Guinea. That's where he's from. That is where he's from. He may have been born in Sokoto, but his ancestry comes from Guinea and Futajalon, those areas. But they don't, those kind of things, they don't want those facts to be exposed. So now going back to the point we were saying, so the collapsing of the nation and using military rule. So first of all, after Erosi, then we had Gowon. Then of course, then we had, if I'm correct, I think it's Muritala. So all of the people that were there, they were all there to serve one particular purpose. They were people that were put in to give us a sense of so-called governance. But what they were really doing, the military was setting in plans at every step of the way. The Fulani had always been in control of the military. And this will be borne out. You will see that when they were being trained, they were given, they were put as prominent people, Sandhurst and everything else. But even in Sandhurst, would you believe that they said that the military, that they should not really be doing anything in terms of governance? This is what they said in Sandhurst. They should only be, they're only military men good for the field of battle. So can somebody explain to us how men who are equipped to, trained only to be good for battle, end up being in control of a nation? And these are the questions that many people often shy away from. And I think we need to look at that. So the reason why we are highlighting and staying on this particular point is to make us understand that what we see as governance is actually puppets, stooges, whilst the military have controlled every single part of what has been happening in that contraption. I wonder if somebody else wanted to have something to chip in before I go along and go ahead. So I hope that makes sense what we're saying there. It's important to see those regions. When you see the North, please remember that the Middle Belt forms more than half of it, and they subsumed it to give us the impression that it was all of the North. It isn't. Please, if somebody wants to have a chat, let's hear from you, please. Please, we'd really like this to be an engaging discussion. Please chip in. Let's hear from you. Thank you.
I
Hello?
think Mr. Ogaraku.
Okay, yes, go ahead. Okay, I can see that now. Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
So let me, yeah, go ahead. So go ahead.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much. For as many who may have been following this forum and a good number of other forums of Nigerians discussing Nigerian situation, all, if not all, what you have said here is what we have started realizing. In fact, we know it has been there, but I think the forum and the present day social media has given us the opportunity maybe to speak out. And then by speaking out is getting to a good number of people. Unfortunately, still, even in the local areas, because of the impoverishment of the people, you still see a good number of people who cannot access internet, maybe to access to what we are saying here or doing here. The Nigerian nation, Nigerian country as created, was never a common people. They have different entirely ideas about what to come about, going by Ottoman Dafodio's pronouncement as clearly stated. And one funny thing we should always know is that what we call the Northern culture or the Fulani culture is where somebody is both the head of cultural and religious life. Cultural, including political. So he who is ahead there has all the powers and all the informations. And what they did and what is their intention is this idea of when they get to a territory, they create what is called Sarki. And that Sarki is the leader of the people. This Sarki, he has the endowment of knowledge, and it's believed he does good to every other person. So that's exactly how they dominated the North, including the so-called Hausa territory. With the Sarki being the cultural, political, and religious head, and more importantly, by the time they influence them with the Islamic religion, it means in what we normally have our places, your spiritual leader. And this spiritual leader should be wiser. He knows better than you. And before they realize it, we got to where we are. And brothers, this is 2,000 years ago, not today.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, it is good to mention clearly that the generations of Ottoman Danfodio and the Fulani that are here are coming from somewhere. But I believe it is now too late as well to think of asking them to go. Let's come to that fact. Then, if they are to hang around, what type of relationship should we have? People have asked to have their independent states, and they are being killed for it, starting with the so-called civil war. Remember. And just like Ayo has rightly said, the Fulanis, just like an invading people, are more organized as a people. The history has it that people who live with natural resources never look for instrument of war. And then that's why mostly what we call the South, mostly who lives in riverine area, they had food. They had no need to go any other place. Even some internal tribes that are found in the Yoruba and the Igbo areas, who we are seen to be moving groups in the tribe, definitely we are all prepared for war whenever they're going. It is said one thing clear, that if you know your enemy and know yourself, the war is almost won, because you know what the enemy have and you know what you have. And before you think of fighting that enemy, you are prepared for it. Unfortunately, Nigeria, being multi-ethnic groups, has never agreed or known that they had this type of enemy within, put it this way, enemy within. Yeah. Before we realize it, it has been so, and I believe that's what happened both from the military to political engagement. When you come in, you feel you are trying to use your own local people. Tomorrow, you will get your first disagreement with those people, and then you don't have what you call it, a homogenic group, either religious, political, or even cultural. I still quote this, and it angers me so much. One of the immediate past, I think the immediate past, the Catholic Archdiocese or Archbishop of Abuja was asked once, that there's effort to Islamize Nigeria. And they really challenged them. If they want to Islamize Nigeria, you Christianize Nigeria. But this is when some of these people talk like this, I ask, where is the spirit of discernment? I ask again, where is the spirit of discernment? That old man, retired Archbishop or Bishop, is somewhere today, seeing Nigeria the way it is. Tomorrow, who would I think of being a saint? While the leadership he was given lacked the foresight to lead his own people. Now Christians are being sacrificed. Sacrificed. I repeat the word for the third time. Sacrificed on daily basis.
Okay.
So, to conclude, please allow me to conclude, because I'm not the person who intervenes easily. So,
go ahead.
The point I'm trying to make here is that the Fulanis are invading people, and they have been doing this continuously. And then if one really mentioned it, that now go to NNPC, almost 99% of the officers are Fulanis. Not when you say Northerner, it seems as if they say they are working with even the Hausas who are supposed to be Hausa Fulani. Look at all the governors in the north, even the so-called middle belt. 90% of them, if not more, are Fulanis. So what they try to do is to implant Fulani in your areas. And more importantly, the military government with the so-called central authority we have means anybody can be appointed to anywhere to come and lead you. And definitely when they are there, call them military, call them, they know what they have been doing. Unfortunately, this is how Nigeria has grown. Now that the Nigeria are waking up through this type of movement, like NINAS, like every other Yoruba movement, different organizations, even IPOB and everything. The idea was not necessarily to come and create war in Nigeria. The idea is that the people are now complaining, realizing that they are being enslaved in our own land.
Yeah.
So what do? Let's go for action. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. If we would like to hear from somebody else as well about this topic, because
can we please move on? We're trying to outlay the plan, and I think we're talking too much about what is going on. Let's stick with the laying out the plan. We need to go to number two.
Number two is this.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to interrupt.
Guys, we need to stick to the plan, or we're not gonna get to the end of this. We keep straying into discussing what's happening on the ground. Today is about laying out the plan. So please keep everyone.
Well, it did bring up some points, though. It did bring up some points that I think that we need to. I mean, we can revisit it later on, but I think it brought up some points that I think will be part of the plans that you're talking about.
Exactly, because it is included in the plans as we talk about it.
Now, the point he actually talked about in terms of how the Serikis are actually run things, and it actually fits neatly in, I was going to say, it fits into the second section. It says divide the indigenous people by creating states, and LGA will naturally cause them to become competitive among themselves and lose their unity. The local government area scheme has been used to effectively ensure that the revenue from assets are mainly distributed from local assets are distributed to others. So now, that is exactly part of this thing about when you have a Seriki coming into an area. that Seriki now becomes a person that's going to be a spokesperson for example, look at Lagos State. I'm just giving an example now. In Lagos State now, the Seriki is the man that even the governor, the elected governor, has to go and pay homage to a Seriki in his own state, in Lagos State, a Yoruba man.
Wow.
He has to go and pay homage. I kid you not. And the Seriki will sit down with his feet on the chair, feet up in the air, signifying this is his territory. How many Yoruba Obas will you see in the north that would dare to say, okay, I'm ahead of my community. Now you as a governor of Sokoto State, you have to come and pay me homage. How many? I'll wait. I'll just wait. There, you can't find it. So this is the kind of things that we're talking about in terms of, so we need to understand the step they're taking. Now, breaking down what we spoke about now, the LGAs. Again, those local government areas, they were skewed. Lagos and Sokoto, for example, they had is it Sokoto or Kano? I think
Kano State.
Kano State. They had 2020. We had 20 local government areas in Lagos State. And Kano at the time, I think in the 60s, had 20. Now, Kano has over 100. Kano,
3 states.
3 states. Yeah. So there's 3 states now in what you call Kano. Kano, Kebbi, and Jigawa. Thank you. And those 3 states combined, they have over 100 local government area seats, which means that they have the power to control and decide the future of Lagosians in Lagos. And these are the kind of things, when we talk about One Nigeria, we need to really understand this is a very key point that we are trying to emphasize and break down for us, so that we understand that this is a game that they're playing, a game to win at all cost, a game to win at all cost. And we have got to be smart and wake up to this danger, and not just to say, no, it's okay, it's okay. So no, it isn't okay. This is what they're doing to our land. A man, there's a video of a man, they cut off both of his hands just 2 days ago in Oyo State. He was a farmer. He had a gun on his back. He saw 2 Fulani men walking close to him. He didn't say, because he thought, I've got my gun. If they come close, I will deal with them. Suddenly, they got close and they started hacking his hands. They hacked both hands off him. The man has no hands now. The man has no hands. And this is what they're doing, is not about the man alone. It's to damage the community. You remember I mentioned to you about the fact that each of the communities now, when you take a farmer away out of the community, you are impoverishing, you are making that community go hungry. That's exactly what they've done. By cutting off both arms of this man now, he's not getting any compensation. The government one of the honorables came and said, oh, we are having discussions. What discussion? This guy should be arrested. They should be thrown in jail. The full weight of the law should be put against them. But I'm trying to because for time purposes, I don't want to talk too much. So let me stop there. Anybody want to contribute to this side of the discussions? Because we have a lot of things to go through. Please go ahead.
Can I just quickly piggyback on, back to what you said about, some of these examples that you gave. And I remember that the last speaker said something about the ignorance of our leaders, or, and he gave that, the example of that, the Catholic
yes, yes.
Okay, yes, so but that it's not just the religious leaders alone. We also have the politicians, just like you mentioned right now, that the local chief was saying, oh, we're in dialogue, we're talking. Who are you dialoguing with? These people, so it's like you're wasting your time. But you see, again, the word enemy within, right? We need to also be aware of that. Enemy within, right? It's because because what they are just, they are not just, they have just not, created so many local government areas, so that the southern and the middle belt and states can never, can never have more representations than them, right? But they didn't just stop there. They also have been able to get, all of our, our leaders, right? Religious leaders, political leaders, local leaders, everything, to buy in to their, to their conquest, agenda, right?
Yeah.
And that's why, the like you said, the local leader, said, well, the solution here is for us to have dialogue with them. Dialogue with them. In what sense? You're not going to get anywhere with that, because already they are people above who will make sure that those people are not held accountable, because they actually sent them on those errands in the first place. So how are they going to watch you hold them accountable? They sent them. They sent them.
Exactly.
So again, it's just that's just what I want to kind of point out there.
Okay, thank you so very much. Anybody else would like to have a comment on that? Before and let's not forget, there are 724 local government areas. Now, the way they have been easily divided up has been heavily weighted, largely in favor of the North. And the reason for all of those local government areas now goes down to what you call your senators and House of Reps. The more local government areas you have, the more seats you will automatically control. That's how this thing works. So you can see there is a thread. The plan is and remains to always give this psychological impression that the North is more than the South, when it is patently obvious that it is.
My brother, do you know that even as we speak, the population, Lagos is the most populous state with 21 million population, and Kano is 16 million, and still so it's like, no matter how they doctor this stuff, I mean, the numbers are still there, right? 21 million, have a state with 21 million people have 20 local governments, while a state with 16 million people have 44 local governments. Kano has 44 local governments, and Jigawa has 27. So together they have like about 71, right?
Yeah. Right, just Kano and Jigawa is 71. Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, it's 71. Yes.
So this I mean, please, we would love more to hear from Professor Anyeribe. Please, or others. Just
okay. If we can move on to number 3.
Okay. All right. I see. Professor doesn't want to say anything.
I gotta keep us on track.
Yeah.
No, there's really a lot of things to say, but they're not relevant to the specific topic you are talking about.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you very much. Okay, all right. Let's move on again. So these are just giving you ideas to really to have also really look at things and understand what is being done. One more thing. Oh, sorry, I've just lost.
Okay, number 3 is continuously removing the middle belt to the South indigenous people from the military. Yeah. And I'm going to show.
Yeah,
I'm going to flash up my screen for you.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So that you can see the list of officers that were in 2016. I think this made a lot of headlines at the time, because when you looked at the names, they are from the South.
They are.
As you can see, Ijoma, Ijemai, Atewe.
Yes.
Right. So
Uday,
this name, Okonkwo.
Yeah.
Yes. Essien.
Yeah, they are all. These are all
of them. Yes.
So this is really a systematic plan of disempowering and removing any possible avenues for us to be able to get into a situation whereby we can challenge their so-called born to rule ideology. So, and they're systematically removing anybody. They retire anybody in military that is ranking higher ranking officer than any Fulani, for example. And these are things that are happening before our eyes. We cannot just remain silent in the face of this kind of injustice. And Aliu, Ilu, Akem, Ijoma, Ejimai, Belu, Ekpeyong, Oye Fesobi, Ojogbani Adigbe, Ukoha, Minima, Kenneth Minima, F Minima, Hassan, okay, Unwanko, Kayode, Audu, Nyeku, Arigbe, Enechuku, Oladutoye, these are, I mean, we have to really, I think if we're not looking at this and understanding the impending danger, in fact, the danger, forget impending because it's the danger. If we're not looking at it and addressing it full on and actually saying, oh, this is, we have to take steps, corrective steps. And that is where awareness, you see, if you're aware of something, then that means that you will be looking out for it. Just sort of, we see the aim of this program here is not to come and just shout and get upset. We want to impart knowledge, because when you have knowledge, and it's really important, critical knowledge, and please never again disregard the knowledge that the Fulanis are imparting onto the people. Never again, because that knowledge is effective. You know why it's effective? That is why they are able to control everywhere in the country right now. So it is education. The question is, we don't like it because it's actually up, it is something that is a threat to us. And we need to, but that doesn't mean we should not recognize that it is a knowledge that they've shared that is successful from their point of view. What we need to do now is to now share the knowledge to make us successful in our land. Making this information.
Actually, not just to save us at this
exactly.
point.
Well, I was trying to be subtle about exactly.
To save us from extinction.
Thank you.
Because
Thank
that is the goal.
That is the goal. Thank you. Thank you very much,
and
Dr.
I also want to add that, after retiring those southern middle Belton officers, right?
Mm-hmm.
He followed that up with asking that people surrender their arms. Remember, people who had arms, they were asked to surrender their arms. Therefore, disarming the citizenry so that the foreign invaders who will be armed with AK-47 can now kill them and get them off their land and grab their lands from them. So all these are plans, gradual plans to actualize the Fulani agenda. And we need to point out each and every one of this so that our people know. And the other thing that I also want to talk about, please don't be in denial, because I know our people want to wish the problem away. They'll say, oh, no, it's not there. Oh, no, you wishing the problem away does not mean that the problem is going to go. It's going to be there. We are saying this to you so that you can protect yourself. And at this point, try to take what has been taken away from you in a way, in a collective way, because we have to speak in unison. We have to speak one language so that we can, because again, all of their efforts are geared towards dividing us, because they know that there's unity, there's power in unity. They want to divide, they want to make sure that they divide us, by saying, oh, we have Muslim brothers in the South. Oh, we are, this is one Nigeria. Oh, There's nothing like one Nigeria. All those are their efforts to make sure that they penetrate and they divide us. We talk about Hausa Fulanis in the north. This is this was one of the strategies that they used. They encourage their Fulanis to start marrying Hausas. So then products of those relationships cannot fight them, right? Because they have Fulani blood in them. So they cannot relate with us. They cannot relate with our pain. How we're suffering. How our people are suffering. They cannot relate because if they have Fulani blood in them, they cannot see anything wrong with what they are, where they are, with what their kingsmen are doing. And the evils that they are perpetrating.
Thank you so much. Thank you. If anybody else wants to add, we're going to move on to the next topic now. But if you only for time purposes, we are going to talk about the fact that even the ICC are also trying to they've got plans indicting Nigeria and the armed forces for committing crimes against humanity and rising level of war crime. As far back as 2020, I think, there was the International Criminal Court prosecutor Fatu Bensouda. Let me just read what she said to you. If I can, I don't know if I can show this. I'll try and show it in two ways. I'm going to try and show it on the screen, and I'll try and share something on the screen at the same time. 1 second, please. Let me just do this way. So
I'll share it for you.
Okay, you go ahead. You go ahead. So you can I can read it. Exactly. Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you very much. Go ahead. So now we want to just, because these are things that are happening. It's not a question of and people are outside the country are aware of what is happening. That's the point we're trying to make here. People who are outside of the nation, they are aware of what is being done. Now, at the end, it is up to you and me to take steps to make the change. And raising the level of awareness is the best thing what we can do as Southerners, as Middle Beltans, to actually raise the level of awareness within our communities, to actually begin to challenge this hegemony who are oppressing us. So now, here we go. So now, the International Community Criminal Court's prosecutor, Fatu Buddha, this was on December 11, 2020. Yes, it might be a couple of years back, but once it shows they are aware. The International Criminal Court's prosecutor said Friday she had enough evidence to open a full probe into ongoing violence in Nigeria by both Islamic insurgents and security forces. That speaks to the collusion mentioned by Danjuma. That's the collusion. Let me read those lines again so you understand. You remember what Tiwa Danjuma was saying? He said they collude. That's exactly what the point is saying. So that means that the world are actually listening to us. So in the Northeast, where 76 people were slaughtered, so Fatu Bensouda's announcement comes as a violent continues to wreak havoc in the Northeast, where at least 76 people were slaughtered by Boko Haram jihadists two weeks ago. Following a thorough process, I can announce that the statutory criteria for opening an investigation into the situation in Nigeria have been met, Bensouda said in a statement issued at the ICC's headquarters in The Hague. The ICC prosecutors opened a preliminary investigation into the situation in Nigeria in 2010, but Bensouda now wants permission from judges to proceed to a full-blown formal probe. Gambian-born Bensouda specifically referred to acts committed by Boko Haram.
Hello.
Right. I mean, like one of the important things here is that we can see the numbers of people that have been killed by Boko Haram. And now this does not include, the 36 number does not, 1,000 does not include the ones that were killed by Fulani herdsmen. But as you can see, we also talked about 2 million displaced, even though the UN kind of had a higher number by this time. But you can see, that these numbers that we're talking about are not Nigerian numbers, as we talked about. These are numbers that the international community is providing. I mean, we do have folks that are tracking specifically in the different areas, but this, obviously is something that is going on. Yeah.
So I don't know what happened there, but we're back.
Yeah, I think you got booted out. So if we can move on to number 4 so that we can keep going, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Let's. So now we're gonna try and rush through this a little bit. So forgive my the rush if it's a little bit rushed. Sorry.
So number 4 is the return to civilian rule and implementing the fraudulent constitution.
Yes. Now, the 1999 constitution is the biggest fraud going, and it remains the biggest fraud going. And I want us to, we cannot overemphasize that point enough. I say that again. We cannot overemphasize the point that the 1999 constitution is a fraud enough. There is not even enough time to even begin to use the superlatives that comes to mind when I think of to explain that fraud. There is not enough time. But what we do want to tell you is that please keep in mind that one of the things, the criteria for you to have a constitution, the central criteria It's one and one alone. It's a referendum. That criteria remains unfulfilled till date. Bring anybody on this planet, let them debate this. That criteria remains unfulfilled to date. And that is what we need to really understand. So let me just read the outline a little bit. Return to civilian rule and implementation of Federal Constitution in 1999 that will progressively ensure the indigenous people do not hold any significant positions of power over revenue generating sectors and the political process, ensuring that those who do rise to levels of power are provided with wealth and power by the invaders, which will lead directing to the impoverishment of the indigenous masses.
And Mojigbe, if you have the list of the ministers, remember
yes.
AY, if you can bring that up as AY is speaking so people can actually see and he can read, you know, like the, so we can see those, you know, those areas would be awesome. Go
yes,
ahead.
I mean, if you look, just looking at if you look at in the Buhari's government, you will see that the majority of the positions, they are all Fulani, and the ones where you have Southerners in there, you will have. Let me give you an example. Even let's look at the House of Reps. You have the House of Reps, Bajabia Miller, Femi Bajabia Miller is the man in the House of Reps, right? The deputy is Ahmed Wase. And I'm telling you conclusively now that Ahmed Wase is the man who runs the show, not Femi Bajabia Miller. So let's look at the list of names in 2021, for example. So now, names of ministerial list in Nigeria. So 1, Zainab Ahmed, Kaduna State, Minister of Finance. Muhammad, Kaduna State, Minister of Environment. Sabo Nanono, Kano State, Minister of Agriculture and Development. Can you see what is the problem with this? General Bashir is a minister for, I think it's armed forces, if I'm correct. So yeah, Minister of Defense, Defense. Hadi Sirika, Minister of Aviation. Abubakar Malami, Minister of Justice. Yes, we see that one indeed. Ramatu Tijani, Kogi State, FCT. Now, Ramatu, Lai Mohammed, Kwara State. Let's not forget, Kwara State and Kogi State, there are issues with that. There are really states that belongs to the Southwest, and that is indisputable. And they remain to whether they cut it up or not. We know that Kwara and Kogi belongs to large sections of it belongs to Southwest. Now, Gbemisola Saraki, Minister of State and Transportation. Can you see? Does that name ring a bell? That Gbemisola Saraki is of course related to the PDP, the PD, you know. So
and they have Fulanis too, right?
Exactly.
So that's why they cannot relate with what's going on in.
They cannot. And which speaks to the point you made earlier on, Dr. Modukwe. We talked about the fact that if they have and the way in which they are raised, they don't see the problem because that's the conditioning that they've been placed in. They do not, you know, they're allowed to. Their Fulani blood is given more prominence in the way in which they are taught. It's focused on that area.
It's a natural thing too. Let me just say quickly, it's a natural thing, right? People will gravitate towards the stronger side of them than the weaker side. So right now, you know, it seems like their stronger side, which is the Fulani, are the ones who are, they are the ones who have all the power. So it's very easy for these people to gravitate towards that. It's a natural thing. Go ahead.
So now, more ministers. You can see Adeleke Mamora, I think, is Minister of Health, State and Health. Muhammad Abdullahi, that's Arawa State, Minister of State Science, Technology. Zubai Dada, majority of the names, you can see Ralph Aregbesola, also State, Minister of Interior. These are, if you look at the positions, I want you to look at the positions. There's two things that you will see when it comes to the Southern ministers. If they are in positions that are of key importance, I want you to go and, if you go and inspect closely who are behind those people, they are usually Fulanis, the deputies. So again, and this is all part of the plan. And if they put a Yoruba or Igbo man in any position that is like, that might seem like, oh, it's great and everything else, that position is ineffectual. So that's why you see Magashi as the Minister of Defense. So, State and Works Housing, Dr. Aliu Yobe State, Umar Farouk, Minister of Humanitarian Affairs. Again, done all of that, humanitarian affairs.
Minister for Petroleum, the
Thank
big
you.
money.
Thank you. Muhammad Buhari Katsina.
Of course, himself.
Why is it that a president that is supposed to govern for the whole nation is focused on a minister for petroleum?
Yes.
And that's a problem. That's a conflict of interest right there, because his job is to look at the whole nation and serve the whole nation rather than focus on oil. And I had something like just last year, $323 trillion or something was lost in oil revenue among all the elites. They stole that. It was stolen. I mean, I look at this with incredulity. And then these are the same guys who are telling us to believe in one Nigeria. So look, the names go on and on. So do
you know how many properties Malami has acquired between the time that that this government came into power and now? Properties that he never had before.
Right. You see,
Buhari could not even afford to buy the form. Right?
Yes.
The application form. Right? But then now, I mean, he's in money.
There you go.
Anyway.
But Buhari, if you guys remember, I don't know if you guys have seen the video about the amount allocated to him in the budget.
Oh, yeah.
Just to travel within Nigeria is 334 million.
I mean,
whoa.
It's crazy.
And then to go overseas, it's like double that or something. How many times did he go? I thought he said he was traveling overseas for medical reasons, and he's the one that's paying for that.
Yeah.
So, right.
Okay.
So let's talk about Nigeria. Was Nigeria meant to be unitary?
Yeah, that's what I was going to.
Okay.
No. I mean, anyway, let's carry on, Jim. Carry on.
Yeah, so a lot of people talk about one Nigeria, but they're actually referring to unitary Nigeria. As we said before, Nigeria was collapsed, right? Mm-hmm. Nigeria was meant to be separate nations coming together, similar to the EU model, because these regions, nations, the Eastern, the Western, the Midwestern, and the Middle Belt was supposed to be, carved out as well, were self-governing. This is important for our people to understand that they're screaming about one Nigeria, meaning unitary Nigeria. They were meant to be self-governing, autonomous, meaning all these other nations would not have a say. The central government would not have a say into their affairs. They had their own leaders. They had their own constitution. They had their own process of electing their people, taking care of their people, right?
Yeah.
And so this unitary Nigeria is really going away from what's going to work. And I'll just say one thing, and I'll let somebody else speak. The important thing why Nigeria was not made unitary is for the very reason that we see right now, a group, and this is a group that are not even indigenous to Nigeria, have now said that they have the numbers to have the presidency forever.
Wow. Exactly.
Which is why Nigeria was not meant to be one or unitary. It was meant to be together, but not one. Meaning one central government, right? The central government was really just where they put certain things that benefited the nations, not the one that was going to drive, what actually happened. I just wanted to clarify that, especially for those one Nigerians who really don't understand, because history was taken out of the school system.
Indeed. If please, go ahead.
Yeah, Jane. Yes. So, you see, Nigeria can never work as a unitary system, because remember there are about the major ethnic groups are the ones that we constantly talk about, but realistically there are about 250 ethnic groups,
more than
in Nigeria, or even more, right?
Yeah, especially in the middle belt.
Just to be conservative. So how can a unitary system work among those kinds of that huge, diverse groups, right? It's not going to work, and it's not going to happen. And just like you said before, at the time of independence, what was agreed upon, what was negotiated was that each region will have their own autonomy, right? The Western region had its own constitution. So was the Eastern region and the Northern region. But what happened was that suspending those constitutions, through the when military came in and suspended all of the constitutions and they merged everybody into one, right? Gave birth to that unitary, kind of system, which has proven not to work. I mean, where are we if we compare where we are now to where we were at the time, right? In 1960, when we used, when we were true when we used true federalism, right?
Indeed.
We can see, we can see the difference. It's like light and day. It's like night and day, right? So again, unitary system can never work in Nigeria, and they did that for a reason, so that they can push that, so that they can implement the agenda to
control everything,
control Nigeria,
every aspect, every
Nigeria. Is because if they had left us, to practice the federalism, it wouldn't work. Their plans would never have worked. So
let's just talk about the unitary thing, right? Because if unitary cannot deliver democracy, and democracy is what the people want, right? Because we've seen the headlines, right? And I don't know if you got any other headlines that talks about the zoning. If it was possible for it to work as a democracy, we would not be talking about zoning, right? It just that just will not. That's just not.
Zoning should not form part of the discussion whatsoever.
Exactly.
Because
if Nigeria could be, right? If it could be, and let me just share my screen so I can show a bit, while you guys continue to talk. And Prof, please join the conversation. And
I think
you guys can all join the conversation.
We welcome it. I think
this is meant to be conversational, and you can share I'm just going to share my screen and show a couple of things that we talked about, with regards to unitary Nigeria not working. This is just February 27, 2022, right? These are the types of rhetoric that we have been seeing from the Middle Belt to the South. Go ahead and I'll show a few more.
Just speaking to that thing about this issue of zoning thing. I had some issue going on in Abuja today within the APC thing. There was some sort of disagreement, and some people, they had to chase some people away, and all of that. I think it was carried out. I'll probably look into that later on. So that speaks to the fact that it's all about trying to present a face of something running when it clearly is not functioning. Like you said, if Nigeria was functioning as a nation, you would not have to look at zoning as part of our decision-making process. It wouldn't be. That's just plain fact and pretty clear for all to see. Oga, my brother Oga Roku, please, if you wanted to chip in for a few minutes, go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you again. Just like I said before, the fact remains there. We said a Federal Republic of Nigeria. The word federal, what does that mean? It means a coming together of nations. And where is the nation? Is the state in Nigeria a statue of a nation? No. So that simply means we have a constitution that, first of all, interprets us wrongly.
Yeah.
Again, after a long time military rule, which was not exemplified only in Nigeria, Ghana had the same thing with the J.J. Rawlings.
Yeah.
How did the J.J. Rawlings hand over to civilian government? Can anybody tell us? Maybe I'll remind us.
Referendum.
He went through a referendum where after the constitution was taken through the people to make a choice, make a decision, and then decide what they want. And that's why Ghana is what it is today. It has given them the basis for true democracy, and the world recognized that. Remember that Obama chose Ghana against Nigeria for one good reason. That's where democracy has shown dividends. A lot of foreign investment in Ghana today against giant Nigeria, where they know the economic supposed to have the leeway, is because they knew clearly that our foundation is as described by most foreign investigators who have proved what we are today. So what am I saying? The two issues are there. The word federal government, it definitely does not represent what the Constitution said, and more importantly, how the Constitution was enforced on the people, or with Decree 24. How is such things done? And then why is that all these things, just like my friend rightly said, why is that all these wrongs happens and little or nothing is done? Because the indigenous people are not yet enough united. And they, again, they buy over easily. You see, let me get this point right. I am talking to you from United Kingdom. Yes. And for you to be a minister in United Kingdom, you must be elected to parliament. So you are a member of parliament and minister for this or minister for that. And whenever your ministry fails, one thing or the other, your people calls you home. It's not the issue of
you're recalled.
If he wants to remove Malami, if he wouldn't, then he chooses what he wants. And then that makes the office of, in fact, the office of the president of Nigeria more prim than that of the president of America. Let that one be very clear to you. The power of the president of Nigeria is more than that of the president of America, despite the fact that the president of America is a leader of the world with a lot of powers. It means once you get that office, you decide what you want. And look at it, the creation of states was all done by military and possibly Fulani military leadership. Yes. All creation of local government were made by the military, more importantly, Fulani leaders. And what do you think they have intention when they were doing it? Do you think when somebody is in uniform, he's no longer ethnic reason or tribal sentiment in him? That's where we are. But indeed, honestly, what I'm trying to say is that a lot of movement for some time now has posed many ideas, mostly stopping the election, getting to dialogue, stopping the constitution. The energy towards this end is what we should be thinking of as much as we can, if it's something that can be done. Without this, it's a rhetoric, and those people knows what they're doing, no matter however you try to talk about it. They know what you're saying, but they do. In fact, I go this way. Leto Ojukwu said that the North does what they want, we in the South only grumbles. I'm quoting another statesman. He said they do what they want and we grumble. Yes. How long will we continue to grumble while they do what they want? Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Can I chip in? Can I share something, please?
Yes, go ahead.
My name is Professor Kelem Godom. Jana, we met in New York during the United Nations.
Yes, you are welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Good discussion. I've been just listening through. There's so much to ponder. There's so much to talk about. But I'm really overwhelmed because my father have a proverb said, "No, your enemy cannot shoot you, and eventually you didn't die, and then you are carried to the enemy's hospital to be operated. The bullet in your body."
That is very sage.
It's true.
So the last speaker, our brother in United Kingdom, and I heard everything has been saying for the longest time. And I'm here in United States, and during the 2019, I followed Tony to Washington, D.C., and we met the people we met, and we have some advances in things that they wanted to do in Nigeria. And Nigeria was placed on a watch list. And then I participated in the 2020 election here. I was the regional coordinator, actually in the Southeast here for the election of Biden. And I got involved. Actually, I'm one of the delegates in terms of making sure that African votes were counted, and I have some people that helped in that process here. My expectation was that immediately this guy goes to power, the Nigerian issue will be addressed. And I'm really disappointed at this level that nothing has been done. Rather, Boko Haram, that was listed as a terrorist organization, or Nigeria being on the watch list, was removed. Was removed.
That is true.
That.
That is unfortunately true.
And many other things. We have beamed the searchlight on the Nigerian situation of all that we have been talking about here. And why I said your enemy cannot operate you after shooting you and knowing that you didn't die. They can't operate you because they want to make sure you're really dead.
Yeah.
Because here, we run to them, we expect the United Kingdom, who planted that stooge in Caliphate, and also United States, who in 2012, I was one of the people that wrote to John Kerry when he was making a trip to Nigeria and invited the 20 Fulani government to the White House. And they celebrated that. I really directed that other leaders in the South that should have been part of that. But you see, so the people that we are running to help us in this are the ones empowering these Fulanis. And they know it. The Fulanis knows that. That is why we grumble. It doesn't go anywhere. They watch. They see all the genocide going on. And that's not it. So now, my question is, if this referendum fails, well, of course, Buhari don't want to conduct a referendum. Rather, he's going around and round and round, going through the National Assembly and all kinds of things, try to shift the goalpost. All the ultimatums and constitutional force majeure and all that, they got it. But yet they do not want to address it. So if we do not go to referendum, and as they are planning not to, because I don't think they want to do that, then what? War? Who will be on our side, knowing that the pipers that dictate the tune knows exactly what is happening? So I am really, I sit back and listen to all this, and I get overwhelmed and I get worried, and I don't know what could be done. So for us that are here in the United States, can we organize a meeting, seek an audience with the executive office of the United States presidency? I know a friend, Ambassador Linda Greenfield, who's in the United Nations, was part of when during Joe Biden campaign, we had a couple of meetings. Is there any way, people here, we can just arrange a very, very good visit with our friend Tony and every other person that is involved in this struggle, with the foreign press, world press, beaming on this thing that is coming, because it is coming heavily on Nigerians. But how can we avert this if the referendum did not work? That is my question.
Those are really great points. And we do have a section at the end, because today at the beginning, we just want to lay out the plan, because a lot of our people are still in denial. As Modupe mentioned, they're trying to, they always find a reason to dismiss one thing or the other, right? So we're kind of trying to bring the whole plan together so our people will be able to see that and know that they need to do something. But we're going to talk about your question at the end, because there's a section where we'll talk about, okay, so now this is the plan. What are we going to do? So that we can actually get started in doing those things. And it's not that some of those things are not being done. They are. But we need to galvanize the numbers. We need to galvanize the numbers. Nigeria is not Ukraine, right?
No.
And I'm going to leave it at that. Nigeria is not Ukraine, where everybody's running and raising 30 million and 50 million and 10 million there, Nigeria and Black Africa has a unique problem that, not just the color of our skin, but also the assets.
Let me say, the color of our skin is not a problem. The color of our skin is not a problem.
In a land that is wanted at cutthroat rates, pretty much being given away. That is a serious problem. And seriously, Is it just me, or is Citrona acting as if she's the head of Nigeria?
Yep.
I mean,
She's
the way I
directing
see
things.
it, I mean, she
Yeah.
acts like she's the
Katrina.
one that's running Nigeria.
Yeah,
You know,
Katrina
and
Lane.
that's the way it
yes.
appears to me. I'm just speaking, and I have sent her. We've sent her messages on Twitter. You know, but again, we're going to be addressing that at the end, and that's a great place. Where we'll board that, and then we'll talk about that, about the things that we need to do. But if we can continue moving on, because there's some key things, especially in that constitution, Ayo, that we need to be able to get to, so that people can really see what we're talking about.
They going on following from that. There is something about creating an indigenous status, Hausa Fulani, to allow for invaders to fly under the radar and forcibly place themselves on Nigerian soil.
Yeah, because there's no Fulani that existed.
There isn't. There isn't.
Prior.
There simply is no Fulani within the Nigerian constitution.
Right. So they put Hausa / Fulani, right, in the constitution. They actually put that in the constitution as being indigenous to Nigeria, right? The Hausa are.
So if they're going to do that, why didn't they put Igbos, Yorubas, Cherokees? Because these are the indigenous people. They don't want to do that because they are afraid, because that would defeat their object. The object is to make sure that land only, and this is what Pantame is doing. And we have to be very, very aware of this. The registration of Fulanis, majority of the people that you will see with cards now will be Fulanis.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
And one of the things they postponed.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. They postponed the census.
Yeah, let me show that again.
Exactly. Yeah, they postponed the census. Now, if they postpone the census, but they are going on with this program on the ground, what they're planning to do is that when it comes to election, they say, well, we have this number of people as registered citizens. It's not your fault if you didn't register. So, exactly. So, and to postpone 2022 national asset consensus, but you are going full steam ahead into election mode for 2023. So that means that it's all fraudulent action. They're trying to make sure and here's where the Hausa Fulani thing is very, very deadly. It is deadly because on two fronts, like Jean said, on two fronts. One, because they say the minute you say you're Hausa Fulani, you can be on the records as a citizen of the nation. Hausa Fulani, you can now, with the other proviso, who also speaks a language of the indigenous people. So if like Governor Bala Mohammed said, a Hausa man can be by your side. Yes, that is a Hausa man can be by your side.
They put it, we talk about the amendment, right? Because that's what they're trying to do.
So that is a danger, because what they now do is they can now parachute in. They can parachute in a Fulani man to any part of that contraption using that fraudulent amendment. And these are the kind of things, and that is why we cannot support promotion of anything to do with 2023 elections. A very good point raised by my brother Ogaka in terms of, okay, we cannot just say, we don't agree with things. What are we going to do? And these are why we are doing what we're doing, raising the awareness, the level of awareness. The amendment of the amendment to the constitution now, whereby they are also talking about having INEC run elections in each of the states, bypassing the state, local, and state governments. That is the ticking time bomb that our people should all go against. They should rise up against it, because it ties in with the amendment, the amendment of the constitution in terms of immigration, i.e., Fulani, Hausa Fulani, like you said. So those things are closely linked, and we
and also the local government is now going to be tied to the federal government.
The federal government will be running it.
Federal government for money. Yes,
that's it. Yes. And this is
so Nigerians, indigenous Nigerians, pay attention. We
cannot be silent.
Danger. Yeah,
we cannot be silent. So we are coming and raising this. And again, at this point, if we are asking ourselves what we should be doing, this is the biggest problem that we all face collectively, because if this succeeds, we have no leg to stand on. To be honest with you, if we do not speak up and make our people aware, so they see the people in the end are the ones who will reject this. They say, no, you're not speaking for me. We do not want an imposition. I want my voice heard, because by doing what they're doing, they're silencing the voice of the indigenous people forever, perhaps.
Yes.
This is the reality. So there is nowhere within the constitution in which it talks about Hausa Fulani. That is something that they're trying to put in. That's why they came up with that amendment. Just to go back to the central point raised by Jane, and why we're talking about the amendment and how it is so critical for us to understand all of the steps that they're doing now. We have already said that constitution is a fraud. And what they're doing is, we're amending, but they're amending areas that will make sure that this injustice will remain come what may.
Right.
And these are, I mean, let's hear from other people here about this. Because it's really important how we go about this, because our people on ground have to know this information. Let's do it in our local languages, please. Talk about it amongst our people. Text, words, pictures, language, videos. Tell them so that they know, and at least they have a chance to reject this thing. Because the people, when they do all of this stuff in English, many people, it goes over their heads of people because they don't understand what is being said. They just say government has spoken. But if we speak in their language, and that is what they do in Russia, in UK, in US, they speak in the people's language. In France, the people's voices must be heard. And the indigenous people, we are being denied a voice. And that is why we're doing this program. So please do chip in if you want to. Let's hear from others, please.
Majuba, can you kind of talk to us about
I think she's away.
and D of the, on our list, the 68 item, and also the land federation account situation? Or Stephen, if you want to take that would be great as well, so that we can keep going down.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello, TJ, go ahead.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Can you go on video, please?
All right. Okay. Let me put myself together there.
Hey, TJ. That's good to hear. Okay.
So Stephen or Majuba, can you guys kind of walk us through the 68 item list, and then the federation account?
Hello.
Are you ready, TJ?
Oh, yeah. All right. Thank you.
Let's see your face. Nice one.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Hey, TJ, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. It's been a long time. Good evening.
Yes, I know.
Thank you, everyone. I joined to the conversation, as in the meeting keep going on, and the conversation. But to me, if everybody can understand, I don't know. This is the time that I think that people that we need to, maybe if Nigeria can hear us, the whole world, the set of people who can be able to listen to this conversation as far as going on now. People that I think that we need to draw their attention very, very well is the youth people.
Absolutely.
Because if in a family we are 5 of one parent, and every one of us want to vote, or they wanted to go and vote, so they should be able to understand their situation before voting again.
Absolutely.
Coming to October 1st this year, Nigeria is going to be 62 years.
Oh, goodness me. Oh.
So what is the achievement of it? So people that I think that they need the message very, very well is the youth, not the old people.
Right. I think you're very right with that, and I know it's kind of diverting a little bit. But TJ, one of the things that we want to be able to share, that list that we sent as to how Nigeria was doing in 1980, and then it has been progressively run into the ground.
Even if you said 80, there are people that are born in 80. Yeah, good.
Yes,
But people
yes,
are born
because
in millennial now, they are the one who
yeah, I'm just
wants to
saying, that the youth today need to
yeah,
see that
that is
Nigeria was something before these people
yeah.
run it into the ground. And it can
Okay.
be that again, you know what I mean? It's important for them to know that.
It is.
I'm sorry to stop you. There's nothing like, to me, which my understanding, there's nothing like Nigeria. Don't let us deceive ourselves. If he wants to keep that name, if American does not
Yeah, but
put
you know, the name is not the problem, right?
no.
The problem is what they've done with the
Break the name
union.
in all aspects. Ghana have the British name that are given to them, or by Dutch name, but they change it to Ghanaian. So
Ghana,
many
yes.
Africans. So why Nigerian?
Yeah, but let's get our freedom first, and then we'll work on that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Can I just stop?
Go ahead, Madupe.
Yes.
So
To kind
Sorry,
of add to
TJ, did you
what
want to
we're
say
talking
something else? Sorry, Madupe. TJ, did you want to say something else?
Yeah. So if we are talking about the Nigerian, that name, if that country is working, we're not going to be talking about different ethnic group, different all kind of digestive angle. But the point of it is that Nigeria was built in fraudulent country. 1914 amalgamation is fraud, which everyone know. For those who does not know, we are Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, even the Ijo, Shekiri, they are part of Yoruba, the middle belt there, but the major ethnic group is Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa. But for where we are now, Hausa, Fulani, who are the Hausa, who are the Fulani? So
yeah,
you are playing game a lot of people.
But yeah, we're going to talk about the narrative too.
I pray to God, what is happening is Russia and what do you call it, Ukraine. It should be happening in Nigeria. So we all know where we belong to.
Absolutely.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you, TJ. TJ is very active with the
yes, he is
people,
very active,
which is awesome. So Madupe, if you can go ahead, and then if you can kind of try to get us back on track.
Okay. Yes. Actually, well, we're still on track. You know, some of the things that he brought up were things that we already talked about. You know, how they've used false narratives to push their agenda.
Absolutely.
But if we talk about the 68 items, exclusive items in the fraudulent 1999 Constitution, we know that, you know, of also in total there are 98 items, right, in that Constitution. That you know, and the items are